While it is a series that can be watched on its own, this is actually a spin-off of sorts of the Netflix series Into the Night. This was originally titled Into the Deep. I think they should have kept it, but that's not what it's called. What is up, Netflix fans? Welcome back to my channel. Every week and weekend, we're talking a brand new movie or show on Netflix or just on streaming. So if you'd like to subscribe, you can follow along that journey with me. But there is a new series called Yakamoz S-245, and here is the summary. Set in the world of Into the Night, like I said, somewhat of a spin-off, somewhat of a sequel. This is a fast-paced story of sci-fi, action, and adventure. Free-spirited instructor and marine biologist Arman is set to join in a research mission aboard a submarine. However, when the sun starts killing everyone up above, meaning above the water, he and his science crew need to get on board a military sub to survive. As my dog barks in the background, hello buddy. As they're trying to figure out what's happening up above, as well as what the military sub's true mission is, tensions arise between the crews, especially between our main character and the boat's second commander. He will not only fight to stay alive, but will also do what it takes to get a second chance with the love of his life. At the end of it all, he will learn that he is a hero, a leader, and a legend. This series is rated TV mature for language, violence, and smoking, and of course, the fear of being killed by the sun. So if that scares you, don't watch it. Like I said, it comes to us from Turkey, and the creators of Into the Night, I said it earlier, I'll say it again, this does feel like a show that should have been called Into the Deep, because that's what we're dealing with here. People that have to essentially avoid this catastrophe, everything that's happening with the sun, killing anyone that gets in the way of its radiation. It doesn't matter if you're in a bunker or in a tunnel. The probability of surviving is very, very low. But because they're in this submarine, because they're submerged so far beneath the surface, the sun's rays cannot reach them. And so once they're all in this compact space, after they figure out that they have to do everything they can to avoid the sun, and we get those visuals of the fallout of that, it is devastating, it is catastrophic, as you could imagine. That imagery is definitely something that had me captivated whenever we were able to see it. So they will come up whenever it is nighttime. They will go back beneath the surface whenever the sun is out just to survive. But this series is focused more on the tension between the crew and all of the things that are happening down here because they are avoiding up there, but this is more of what the focus is on. So we witness mental battles, physical fallouts, deaths that it takes the crew members a while to get over, things that will affect you emotionally, and then you have everything happening above the surface that is kind of lingering in the brains of our characters and in our brains as well. And while it does take one episode out of the 7 to get us to that point, beneath the surface in this very claustrophobic submarine, I do like what they did with the set pieces here. It makes you feel kind of what our characters are feeling. Limited space to do what they need to do, but at the same time, you're stuck with those that maybe you don't really want to be stuck with. So that's going to create a lot of tension and interesting moments and elements for us as an audience to be captivated by. So all of those things are really cool. And then you have that same kind of somewhat cheesy at the beginning vibe that Into the Night had, but there's something about this type of series that can and inevitably at some point does suck you in if you are interested enough in the conflict of it all. And that, for me, is what was important about this show. Are we going to care about the characters enough to get invested in what's going on? And I will admit, we'll start with episode 1. It was a bit rough all the way around, right? From the graphics to the surprises that they hit us with. The mystery is something that slowly builds in episode 1 and culminates to what we get, I'd say, more at the middle point of the series, and that's when things really started to escalate. But I didn't quite care as much as they wanted me to care, and I wasn't really invested into the characters. And that leads me to my first big point of this review, is the fact that it doesn't quite get interesting enough until the second half of these 7 episodes. The first half is a ton of buildup, a lot of escapism. You have to suspend your disbelief at almost all points. Obviously, the show is about the sun killing everyone. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about more of the personal moments, the dialogue between the characters that really feels so unnatural at times. It almost gets to the point to where it is satirical, so you have to kind of be on board for that really serious yet cheesy tone that it's going for. Another thing is the acting in this show is just very inconsistent, right? Some of the performances were genuinely really good, especially our lead, whom the focus is on throughout the entire series. Like the summary says, it's up to him to kind of be the hero of this situation, bring everyone together. Part of I'd say my biggest issue with this show is the fact that it just takes so long to recover for our characters every time something goes down. We're talking a character death or something crazy just happened within the submarine. 20 to 30 to 45 minutes post event that just happened is dealing with the fallout of said event. So I feel as if this series goes on just a bit too long. Even at 7 episodes, you could have shortened this, went to 4 or 5 to fit in all of the things that we needed to fit in, but not have to deal with the fallout as much as it actually does. Now, from there, you get some really nice character moments. Those are the moments where you have depth. Those are the moments that you start to care. And that brings us emotion. There's going to be a lot of emotion, and tensions are going to run high when you have this huge sci-fi concept here. But it all comes down to, are you caring about the characters as much? And like I said, while the first half is a lot of buildup, I just wasn't as invested as I was once everything starts to kick in the second half of the show. Really, episodes 5 through 7. And when the focus is on the inability of the crew to come together, which is most of this season, I wasn't caring as much as maybe I should have. But there are some moments and there are some scenes that really resonate with you. And it's one of those shows that you may even feel like, oh, this is so ridiculous, but you can't stop watching. Like, even if you're bored throughout the first half of the series, you're like, I have to keep going because I have to see how everything turns out. Austin, it sounds like you're being super negative. Well, that leads me to kind of my praise of the second half of the series when everything picks up, the characters started to become significantly more compelling, and that tension and that claustrophobic feeling, it's almost amplified to like an 11 out of 10. And I'm sitting back going, where was this in the first half? Like, I am so on board, submarine pun, with where it's going now. So I was locked in. I had to finish it as quickly as possible, and I binged so fast through the final 3 episodes. So while a spinoff of a TV show that a lot of people love and a world that is fascinating and compelling, it wasn't executed perfectly. There are a lot of things to love about this season if you can stay on board until the second half, which I had to because I'm reviewing the series. And that, for me, is enough to say, if you like this kind of thing, it is somewhat of a recommendation from me. And I'm going to go ahead and give my score. That's a 62% for this series that should have been called Into the Deep. I am standing by that. But thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned. I have a review for Russian Doll Season 2, and then plenty more Netflix things to come. Hey, I talked about The Northman yesterday. That review is on the channel. I'll see you soon.